What is a self-directed IRA? A self-directed IRA is an IRA account that can invest in any asset allowed by law. What does that mean? That means you can invest in a private fund. Your IRA doesn't have to buy stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. If you got a broker-dealer IRA, that's what you can buy. But if you want to invest in alternative assets, non-publicly traded stuff, like real estate, it takes a self-directed IRA. Now I'm going to break down how you set that up, what are the rules, and what the smart people are doing to grow and build their retirement accounts. I'm Matt Sorensen. Let's build wealth. All right, let's talk about setting up a self-directed IRA. Most people who come to a self-directed IRA already have an IRA or 401k. Let's say you got an IRA at Fidelity, or you got a Roth IRA at TD Ameritrade. How do I get that over to a self-directed IRA? So what you do is you'll want to do a transfer of funds from the broker-dealer IRA that won't let you invest in real estate or other alternative assets, and you want to move it over to a self-directed IRA with a company that says, hey, we'll let your IRA invest in non-publicly traded assets. We'll let it buy the duplex down the street. Now that happens to be what our company, Directed IRA, does. We're the best company in the business, fastest growing. I wrote the #1 book on this, and I've also been a lawyer practicing the space for 15 years. So you want to get to a provider, though, that says, we will let you do this. Let's go over an example here so you can see how this works. And let's just talk about buying a single family rental property with your self-directed IRA. Now, the first thing I want you to know is this must be an investment property. When we're using our IRA, my IRA is gonna buy that rental property. My IRA is gonna own that rental property. My IRA is gonna get the rental income on it. When I sell it and there's a profit, my IRA gets it. It's going back into my retirement account, growing and building it. Why would I do that? Because I think the rental property is gonna have a better return for the rental income and the appreciation and gain I'm gonna get than the ETF or mutual fund I've been buying with my IRA in the past. That's why you would do this. But this is not going on your 1040. This is not your property. You don't own this, your IRA owns it, okay? So that's the first principle I want you to understand. So let's actually get into the mechanics of this. There's really 3 steps you need to accomplish. The first thing you need to do, you need to open a self-directed IRA with an IRA provider, like Directed IRA, the #1 company. The second thing is you need to fund it. Typically, that's a transfer from an existing broker-dealer IRA, or maybe you're rolling over an old employer 401k into the new self-directed IRA that can then buy real estate. And then the third piece is you need to authorize the investment. Now, this is where the rules get a little tricky, and you need to understand what's called the prohibited transaction rules. Now, a lot of people think there's all these restrictions on what your IRA can and can't buy. The fact of the matter is, the only thing your IRA cannot buy in terms of what type of investment is life insurance, collectibles, and S corporation stock. That's it. Your IRA can buy anything it wants. I've had clients' IRAs buy shares of a Mexican soccer team. I've had clients' IRAs buy a portion of ownership in a racehorse that raced in the Kentucky Derby. We have clients' IRAs that buy crypto, that buy rentals, that invest in private funds, pre-IPO stock. The only restriction I want you to really know, though, is something called the prohibited transaction rules. That's a rule that doesn't talk about what your IRA can invest in. That's a rule that talks about who can your IRA transact with. If my IRA is buying that single family rental property, who's selling that property to my IRA? That's what it's focused on. Who's on the other end of the transaction? Once my IRA owns it, who does it hire if there needs to be a rehab? Who is the tenant in the property? Who's on the other end of any transactions happening with the IRA? That's called the prohibited transaction rule. And if it's someone called a disqualified person, you have a prohibited transaction. Now let's go over who's disqualified. Obviously, the purpose of using an IRA is to go invest and transact. I gotta go grow the account, but you wanna make sure you don't do it with someone on this list of disqualified persons. So if you look at the list here, we're gonna see you are the first person disqualified. So if you personally own real estate, you can't sell it to your IRA. Your parents are prohibited. Your kids are prohibited. Your kids' spouses are prohibited. Your spouse is prohibited. For those of you in Utah, all of your spouses are prohibited, okay? So we do not want to transact our IRA with anyone who's a disqualified person. Now, obviously third parties, I'm buying it from someone unrelated, or maybe it's a friend or some other investor I know, is totally fine. Even your brothers and sisters are not on the disqualified person list. More distant family members, totally fine. So for example, you could buy a rental property and maybe your sister's company is gonna do the rehab, or your sister will be the agent on the property. That's all fine. They're actually not disqualified disqualified persons. So make sure you focus on who's disqualified in the list here and don't have your IRA transact with them. Because if you do, you no longer have an IRA, your IRA gets distributed, there's taxes and penalties to it. That's the consequence of a prohibited transaction. Now, there's so many investment options of what you can do. A lot of people like to use their IRA to private lend. That's actually what I'm doing with my IRA right now. I bought rental properties in the past with my retirement account, but I'm private lending my account to other real estate investors, charging interest and points for the loan. So now my IRA has a loan secured on the real estate. It's getting interest income and points, and I'm kind of playing like the bank there because I'm getting more than the 4 or 5% I could get maybe in a CD, but I'm out charging a higher interest rate playing the bank, getting a greater return on my IRA. Now, in that instance, your IRA is the lender, and who can I lend the money to? Well, I can't lend it to myself, okay? Remember, you're disqualified. I can't lend it to anyone that's a disqualified person, but other third-party real estate investors, totally fine, and that's who I'm lending my account to. Check out this video here where I give an example of an actual property to another real estate investor where I lent my retirement account. Really cool deal, win-win for me as the investor growing and building my retirement account in a better way than I could in the stock market, and a win for the real estate investor who got access to capital to do a really cool deal. Now, one of the other most popular assets we see out there with self-directed IRAs is simply investing in a private company. This could be a small business, a startup, a bigger business, but it's not publicly traded. The classic example of this is Peter Thiel, who used his Roth IRA and was the first outside investor in Facebook. And this was like the greatest investment of all time, and he did it with a self-directed Roth IRA that is now worth $6 billion. So your IRA can invest in private companies, whether it's a small business, a startup, a growing company, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't have to be publicly traded. And why would you do that? Because you believe that that company is going to have better growth, better increase in value, better returns than what your other options are in the stock market. Now, someone like Peter Thiel, what did he do? He invested in what he knew. He knew technology. That was his space. And so as a venture capital investor, he saw the potential and promise of Facebook and decided to use his Roth IRA to make that investment so it was totally tax-free. That $6 billion he has comes out of his Roth IRA totally tax-free. Now, the question of whether you should do this depends on you. Are you into real estate? Are you into private companies? Are you into crypto? Are you into these alternative assets? And do you believe that they're going to drive a greater return than what you could otherwise do in the stock market? If you believe that and you know the opportunities in those categories, you want to pick the winners, you feel like that's what you'd be good at, you want to take control, that's when a self-directed IRA is for you. But I'll be honest, a self-directed IRA isn't for everybody. Some people don't want to be engaged with their money. They don't want to get into real estate. They don't want to get into private companies. They don't want to get into small business. They don't want the time. They frankly don't care. And that's okay. Keep buying an ETF and keep buying a mutual fund. But if these alternative assets, small business, Main Street investments is what interests you, I want you to know you can invest in it. You can do it with an IRA. Takes a self-directed IRA. My team is here to help. I've got tons of resources. The #1 book on it, the Self-Directed IRA Handbook. We have a podcast dedicated to this, the Directed IRA Podcast, to learn the rules. We have monthly webinars. You can book a call with our team. We'd love to help you and be a resource to you as you're taking control of your retirement. I hope this video's helped. This has been my passion, is teaching people how to unlock these retirement plan dollars to invest in alternative assets. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got tons of videos and tips on helping you build wealth, protect your assets, save on taxes, maximize your retirement account. We'll see you next time.